Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now, 7th of August 2021, and I'd like to just recommend a 20-minute video thanks to a couple of viewers on this channel who recommended it to me, and it is a fantastic watch, and I think it describes in just 20 minutes of an entertaining animated film exactly what has been going on here over the last 18 months, and in a very simple way to understand as well. Now, it's called Mass Psychosis: How an Entire Population Becomes Mentally Ill, and it talks about mass hysteria, mass psychosis, whatever you want to call it. And we do know it is an actual thing. It's not some kind of mad con theory. It's a real thing. You had it in the 1700s or 1600s, 1700s with the witch burnings, and which was actually a lot worse, because I always thought that was just the odd person getting burned at the stake here and there, but it was almost pretty much genocide, really. So it happened then. It happened with the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century, and I believe it is happening again now. And it just describes how sort of mass psychosis comes about, why it might be deliberately engineered into the population. And basically what happens is the rulers, they decide that they are the best rulers for the job, and once they get into that sort of frame of mind, they never want to leave office. So they then have to convince the population that it is in their best interests as well to have them as their rulers and to obey them sort of without question. And so they institute a program of mass psychosis, and the way it starts is through first of all fear, and they kind of ramp up the fear through kind of endless propaganda, which is really easy in this day and age, because of course you've got social media, you've got mass media, TV, radio, newspapers, etc. So which people are very addicted to in this day and age as well. So you've got all these people willingly sucking up the propaganda sort of morning, noon and night. And then the second key element to it is isolation. So when have we been isolated in the last 18 months? I think you can guess when. And the point of that is basically to keep people away from each other, to keep people meeting up down the pub and just talking about what's going on, and then getting someone who has got a little bit of sense in their head and just saying, look, the government are sort of talking nonsense here, aren't they? And then people kind of snap out of the spell. So that's the last thing that the powers shouldn't be actually want. So they need to isolate everybody. So I think that is why the isolation period, shall we call them, of the last 18 months has happened. And then you add into the mix, again through the propaganda, all kinds of confusion, conflicting reports, kind of ridiculous, insane sounding rules which just don't make any sense, and blatant lies. And then that's not a sign of incompetence, that is what you do to kind of induce the mass psychosis. So I think we've seen plenty of that, haven't we, over the last 18 months, conflicting and contradictory reports, and lots of lying, lots of U-turns, and lots of very nonsensical policies. So that is all part of it, I think. But as I say, the video kind of sort of describes it a lot better than I can. So it just goes on from there, and then what happens is the people are so fearful and so desperate for a solution that the powers that shouldn't be finally come up with such a solution and give it to the population, who are really, really desperate for it, as I say. But it comes with a caveat, and that caveat is we'll give you the solution, but you lose your freedom. And I think that's what the whole passport idea is all about. A loss of freedom. You know, in order to keep your past up to date, you need to keep other things up to date, and you need to be a good citizen. Otherwise your past gets taken away, and yeah, you know, you're in very serious trouble then. So that's definitely a loss of freedom that's going on. But then the video kind of ends on a good note, because it says there are ways to counter the whole kind of totalitarian takeover via sort of mass psychosis. First of all, you need to turn off the propaganda machine. So I'm afraid if you're watching mass media, mainstream media, you need to turn it off and just sort of read a book basically, or sort of try and get some independent, non-government affiliated information. Secondly, once you have that information, you can spread it far and wide as much as you can. That's certainly what I'm trying to do on these videos, and I think I've got a little thing here just to spread a little bit of truth a little bit further, far and wide. So there you go. The third thing is to use humour, because if you can ridicule the powers that be and their propaganda and make a mockery of it, it kind of delegitimizes them, and then people start seeing through it all, and yeah, that's when their whole narrative starts to unravel. So again, I'll do my part. Here's a little bit of a funny one for you. There you go. And then the fourth and final thing that we can do to fight totalitarianism is to create independent kind of structures and communities. Parallel structures is what they call it in the video. And Stand in the Parks is a really, really good example of that. Kind of little independent networks who perhaps just start a little bit of a community, like-minded community, and sharing ideas first of all, but then I think it has to grow a lot more than that. It has to sort of grow into sort of local shared food production, support, healthcare, and really education, housing, everything you need in a sort of a modern society, really, until you get to really a complete new parallel society, which then makes the totalitarian regime sort of irrelevant. And I'm going to make sort of further videos in the next few days about this subject, I think, because it is very, very important. But we do need to start thinking about making an alternative society, because not least of which because again, it's explained better in the video, but if we let this go too far, what eventually happens, and this is all egged on by the totalitarian regime, the society turns on each other, and there's always a scapegoat, and that scapegoat is then the ones who are kind of hunted down mercilessly and given all sorts of dreadful punishments, and the sort of mass hysteria, sort of people afflicted by that think they're doing the right thing, but of course they're sort of under mass psychosis. So that's why so many people were burnt at the stake. That's why the Jews had the awful things happen to them in the 1930s and 40s, and I think you can guess who the next scapegoat will be kind of going forward in this. So that's a fantastic video to watch. I'll leave a link to it in the description box and comment section below. It is on YouTube, so you won't have any problem finding it, or any problem me posting it, and you won't have any problem reposting it as well. So it is information, I think, that is valuable to be passed on far and wide. So I'll leave you with that to do, and I'll be back tomorrow. Tim from Fair Play Now. Thanks for watching.